I've scaled my business to well over $1 million in sales. And in this video, I'm about to show you exactly how I did it so you can too. There are only 5 simple keys to success. Number 1 is identity first. We are trained to think that the key to growing and scaling a business is strategy. But what I have learned over time through my own journey, and not just in my own business, but through helping and mentoring so many online business owners in every niche imaginable, is that business growth starts from the inside out. You become the kind of person who can hold that next level of business, and then that business is going to be manifested and reflected back to you as a result of that internal alignment. How do you do this? There's a very simple exercise I love, and it has absolutely radically changed my life. So you close your eyes and you imagine a scale in your mind. This is basically a scale of, between 1 and 10. And you do this visualization where you imagine your life today as if it were level 5. And so you can close your eyes and you basically just walk yourself through what is your reality today. And you see how you're living and how you're showing up in your business and the type of car that you drive. And you spend a couple minutes really just reflecting on what does level 5 look like. And then you go up to level 7 and you see what it's like to live your life at level 7. When I think of level 7, I think of the house that I'm in, and I see these tall ceilings and this beautiful space with this amazing deck that overlooks the mountains. And I see the way that I'm showing up in my business, and I see how I work so much more through other people and do a lot less of the kind of ground floor work myself. And I see what level 7 looks like. And I also see what level 7 feels like. Internally, for me, I notice a lot more relaxation, a lot more ease. And so you can spend some time, a couple minutes at level 7, then you go down to level 3 and you ask yourself, okay, what does level 3 feel like? I imagine when I think about level 3, I think about living in the apartment that I used to live in years ago in Burbank in California. And I imagine that, and I think about what that felt like to be there and what I was doing and how I was showing up in my life and my business. And so you can spend some time basically just playing with these different levels. And what this does is it gives you awareness around what level you are playing at, where you are currently residing in terms of your identity. And then it also gives you the ability to basically level up. Because the key to creating something different in your business is you first have to, again, become that next level internally. So for me, in my day-to-day life right now, I'm working on anchoring into level 6. And so as I'm going through my day and I'm thinking about, okay, how do I approach this hire? Or should I work with this client or not? Or how do I approach this email that I'm about to send to my list? I ask myself, what would level 6 say in this email? Or what would 6 do in this situation? And it becomes a layer and lens that you can start to use to help you anchor into a new identity. And as you start making decisions in your business as if you already are the person that you need to be in order to scale and create the business on the outside that is a reflection of that, your business will change and evolve. And this, honestly, it's probably 90% of your success when it comes to scaling and growing your business. It's what's allowed me to scale my business past, $500K a year. The strategy has been important, but the mindset, the internal piece, the identity work has been far more essential when it comes to actually helping me unlock that next level of growth. And that brings us to number 2, which is creating more leverage. Leverage is essentially how you get more out of the same input. You imagine like the farming industry. And when people first started farming, they were out in the fields planting seeds and plowing the land by hand. And then one day the tractor came along. And now what used to take 8 hours could be done in like 30 minutes or an hour. That's an example of leverage, right? And when it comes to scaling and growing your business, this is the biggest key to success. Is how do you create more leverage in every aspect of your business so that you don't have to work harder in order to grow? When it comes to scaling and growing a business, there's a lot more intentionality around working smarter versus harder. And the people who don't pay attention to this burn out. And I've been through cycles in my business where I've just tried to brute force and will my way through to that next level. And that can get you to 6 figures. But beyond that point, if you're not paying attention to leverage and how you can create more of it in your business, you're just going to burn out. So how do you create more leverage? There's a lot to say on this, but I want to focus on a couple of different areas of a business where leverage often shows up. The first thing is marketing, because the biggest constraint in most businesses is lead flow. And when it comes to scaling a business, probably the easiest way to scale is you just get more customers, and you get more customers by getting more leads. And the biggest shifts around this oftentimes are people moving from activities that don't really scale that well, like one-to-one conversations, more towards forms of marketing that are more like one-to-many, or more like when you're trading your money for attention instead of your time for attention. So for me in my business, as an example, when I was scaling past 6 figures, that was when I started using paid traffic. And so now I was trading my money for attention instead of my time. And before that point, I was just having a lot of one-to-one conversations with people and doing a lot of DMing, and that worked to get me to 6 figures. But there's only so much, one-to-one conversations you can have with people before you get to a certain point where you're like, this just doesn't scale. So marketing in terms of creating more leverage is about shifting from one-to-one to one-to-many. So you're doing more content, you're doing more forms of marketing that are more leveraged, that allow you to reach a lot more people at once. On the other hand, it's trading money for attention so that you have basically more resources to be able to work with, because we all have 24 hours a day to be able to dedicate, to our lives. But you theoretically have an infinite amount of money you can pour into your business. So, if you start making these shifts, and that creates more leverage around your marketing so you can generate more leads. There's also, delivery side of things in a business, like how do you create more leverage around the way that you're actually serving your clients? Oftentimes this is transitioning to things like group programs or, more leveraged forms of delivery where you can serve many clients at once instead of doing like one-to-one coaching, which isn't as leveraged and isn't as scalable. So it takes a radical shift in the way that you're showing up in your business and the activities and what you're engaged in, and really that intentionality around how to create more leverage around how you're showing up. This is hard to do. And it's hard to do because you got to let go of the old ways of doing things. This is probably the biggest thing that people struggle with. It's not that they don't know what to do in many cases. It's just that most people are really afraid of letting go of the thing that they've been doing that's been working to bring them to where they are. A lot of this is underneath what it actually takes to scale a business. It's the fear, it's the resistance, it's the desire for control, it's the desire to stay safe and keep doing the same things that you've always done. That's really what's going to hold you back from scale at the end of the day. And that brings us to number 3, the third key to scale, which is solve bigger problems. When I first started coaching online back in 2016, I was helping musicians. I have a background in music and studied music in college, and I built this 6-figure coaching business helping musicians learn how to mix their own music online. It took me in my first business maybe like 3 years to scale to 6 figures. But when I became a business coach and started helping other people grow and scale businesses, it took me 2.5 years to scale past $500K a year in sales. And I think probably around that time hit my first 100K month. Very short period of time. Like I was able to grow a lot faster. Now, part of that was because I know what I'm doing now. And this is, the biggest benefit to mentorship and coaching. And when people work with me, they just get that experience. So you don't have to go through all the trial and error and the failure and the mistakes and lessons that I learned. But on a deeper level, I think one of the reasons why that second business took off so much faster was because I was solving a bigger problem. The biggest key to growth when it comes to actually being able to grow and scale a business oftentimes is the problem that you solve needs to shift and evolve because you get paid in proportion to the value of the problem that you solve. Why do heart surgeons get paid, 10 times as much as general practitioners? It's because heart surgeons solve a much bigger problem. Like if you have a problem with your heart, that's a big deal versus you have a cold, you go to like a GP, it's not that big of a deal, right? So reflecting on the problem that you solve in your business and asking yourself, is there a way that I can class that up? Is there a way that I can solve a bigger problem? For example, if I work with an entrepreneur who's very early on in their business, I might be able to create, an extra $50,000 a year for that person. But if I can, mentor literally like a 6 or multi-6-figure business owner, my same coaching, my ability to go into that business, I can create hundreds of thousands of dollars in return with that person. So the value that person is going to get in terms of like the financial impact of that is going to be so much greater, which means I can charge a lot more because I charge as a relationship of how much value I bring. The easiest way to grow and scale a business is just solve bigger problems. You're going to get paid a lot more if you do that. And that brings us to the fourth key to scale, which is playing to win versus playing not to lose. Entrepreneurs who are super successful are playing to win. They're not playing not to lose. This is a radically different mindset. So playing not to lose is basically like being in conservation mode. Once you've hit a certain level of revenue, people just kind of slip into like saving mode. And they're like, okay, I'm going to pull out as much cash as possible from the business and just like stow it away like a pack rabbit. That is when you will get stagnant in a business. That is when you will feel like you're just kind of treading water. And the truth is, a business is never staying the same. It's either growing or it's shrinking. This myth of like, we can just create this perfect system and then it's just going to kind of run by itself is BS. My experience is if you stop innovating, if you stop investing in the business, if you start slipping into that conservation mode, the business will start to decline versus playing to win. Completely different mindset. Playing to win is much more of an assertive kind of offensive stance in a business, which is, okay, how do I grow? How do I seize the opportunities here? This shift in mindset is so crucial for entrepreneurship. And it's something that you have to be aware of at every stage of your business because it's so easy to slip into playing not to lose. It takes continually being uncomfortable in a business in order to scale and grow. And this is why most people don't do it. Most people get to a certain level and they just kind of hang where they are, because they don't have the courage to continually break their business in order to unlock that next level and to continually take risks and invest. Most people just don't have the courage to do that. They break through to a certain milestone and then they shift into conservation mode. And that's why their businesses stay stagnant or they shrink. All right. And that brings us to the last of these 5 keys to scale, which is don't do it alone. Now, the obvious thing I want to name here is I'm a business coach. I help people grow and scale businesses. So you might be listening to this and you're like, obviously Jason's going to say, go hire a coach or a mentor. Here's the truth. I didn't believe this my first few years in business, or at least I didn't practice it. My mindset was I'm a DIYer. I can figure things out. I'm smart. I'm resourceful. So I spent a lot of time on YouTube watching free videos like this and soaking up everything I could. And a couple of years into my business, I remember I had a friend of mine who was growing and scaling his business too. We were at around the same level. We were both making around 6 figures, and he invested $30,000 into his first business coach. I remember having that conversation with him. I thought he was crazy. I was like, dude, $30,000? That's a ton of money. What are you doing? What was really interesting was the next few years watching him as I stayed where I was because I was too afraid to invest. And I watched him again and again and again make these investments and mentors and masterminds and coaching programs to help him grow. And over a period of several years, he went from making maybe around 6 figures to scaling his business past 200K a month in sales and multiple 7 figures in annual revenue. And I ended up coming into his business later on to lead his sales team, basically working for him before I became a business coach. And before I said, you know what, this is dumb. Why am I not practicing what I've literally seen to be successful? And so my first official investment in mentorship changed the game for me. And since then, I've invested over $200,000 into business coaches and people to help me grow. I do this because it works. A lot of entrepreneurs have this belief system around investing that really comes from conventional financial advice that is basically designed for people who have 9-to-5s. The idea that you're supposed to just basically pull out as much cash as you can from your income and invest it into the stock market or your 401k or whatever it is, where your money earns 8% a year on average, versus taking that same money and investing it into you and into your business. Why are we not doing this? Why are we not doing more of this? If you really trust yourself, you realize the best place to put my money is in me. If I can become more capable, if I can invest in my own skills, if I can invest in my own growth in my business, my audience, my ability to reach more people, of course I'm going to make more money. So my mindset and my approach today is I pour as much as I can back into myself and my business. And this is how I've been able to scale and grow so much more quickly over the past few years than I did the first few years of my business journey. It's not because I'm some genius. It's just because I have gotten really good at surrounding myself with people who know a lot more than me, who have been able to help me grow. So don't do it alone. Get in the room with people and hire great mentors who can help you grow. And honestly, one of the biggest keys to scaling a business. All right. So I hope you enjoyed these keys to success when it comes to scaling your business. And look, this stuff's super important, but Also important that you have a marketing strategy in place to grow your business and generate more leads and clients. And if you want help with that, I put together an awesome video where I cover 18 years of marketing lessons, brutal truths that I learned through making a ton of mistakes in only 18 minutes. You can check that out right now by tapping the link on the screen to go watch that video. I hope to see you in the next one. It's really good. And I will see you soon. Take care.